Hi everybody, this is Chris Cole from Sweet Valley Hives. I want to go over what is basically step 2 of the honey harvest for a Warre Hive. In a previous video we talked about, or I showed you how to take the comb out of the hive. Now I want to show you how to take the honey out of the comb. Okay, it's pretty simple and it's called a crush and strain method. So what we're doing, or what we really all you need is a spatula, some sort of hard metal like an egg turner of some sort, and a knife. Now I went ahead and actually cut one of the comb out already. So when you pull the frames out, you're going to be able to identify, or you should be able to identify, the capped honey. And what I did was I cut away what was the capped honey, and I'm going to take this piece, which is basically empty. There's some bee bread. There's actually some uncapped nectar in here. You don't want the uncapped nectar getting into your honey because that will throw off your moisture ratio, and it will actually start to separate if you don't do that. So you don't want any uncapped nectar, and of course you don't want any bees in it either. So here's one of the comb that we pulled out of one of our hives that did not survive this winter. This, I actually went ahead and weighed it, is 5 pounds. So a 5 pound, there's 8 of these. If every one of these was like this in the hive body, we would have 40 pounds of honey. So what you do, the technique is, oh, and one other thing I want to tell you is when you go ahead and do this in your kitchen, you have to understand that everything in your kitchen is going to turn sticky. You just have to understand that and accept it. Okay, but I like to work on a piece of cardboard because it just makes it a little bit easier to clean up when we're done. So come on in here, let's get a close-up look at this. This is all I do, and your frames might look a little bit different, but you just take a knife and run it up along the comb, separating the comb from the frame. Okay, now here's a really good shot. This obviously is probably a clover honey, and the darker stuff could come from goldenrod, ragweed. It could come from a number of sources, trees, but it's really cool to look at this and see all the different colors of the honey produced from the different nectars. Now when you get this end, you're going to want to take, you back up a little bit now, you take your spatula and you want to run it down along here. This is a comb guide. Now your frames may not have this. Mine do. It just helps keep the comb growing straight in our hives. And so I get this little bit here. Now all these things that we're not going to use, like this, when we're done with this, we're going to put that out for the bees and they'll clean that all off. So once you have your comb or your honey, saturated comb, you're going to put it into a large bowl. And then you're going to take some sort of hard metal, egg turner or something, and all you're going to do is just chop it all up. Now, the piece I showed you previously, I already went ahead and did that just to speed up the video. And this is what you get. You get this kind of viscous slurry, and it's honey and wax, and there's a couple bee parts in there as well. But you just mix it all together and you make it's kind of like the consistency of oatmeal. And then what we're going to do is take this and you're going to put it through an initial straining process. Okay? You can use just a standard pasta colander. I actually have a steamer pot I like to use. The problem with this is if I have a large quantity of honey, I only have about this much space below this. So this, while it's designed well, doesn't really work. So sometimes I put spacers in here to keep it up high, but for the most part, you can just use a colander. Set that in your pot. This is where you're going to want your spatula. This happens to be from a pampered chef party that my wife attended about 20 years ago. And you scrape your honey right down into the pasta colander. And you're going to let it sit here for probably at least a day. You want it at room temperature. Don't heat your honey. Okay, don't ever do that after over 120 degrees. You apparently ruin the antioxidants within the honey. So you don't want to do that. So that's what you get right in the bottom of the colander. And you're going to let this sit for a day, 2 days, and it'll just start draining. It's already draining into the pot. What ends up in the pot, you're going to put through a secondary strainer. And this is just your standard wire mesh strainer. So it's really just a 2-step straining process. The large one will get out the large chunks of wax, the bee abdomens and the bee parts that are unavoidable. You're going to get that. And then when you take this, what's in here, you're going to put it through the finer strainer. And once it's in this bowl, it's ready to bottle. This is what standard crush and strain honey will look like. It doesn't have that perfectly clear yellow, super filtered type look of the stuff you'll see in the supermarket. And when we bottle this, we always leave the neck of the bottle unoccupied because raw honey will almost always crystallize. You don't want to, the first time we did this, we filled the jars completely full, and this little cap actually expanded here, and when we opened up, it exploded everywhere. So lesson learned the hard way. Don't fill your bottles all the way. Okay, so that's it. I'm Chris Cole from Sweet Valley Hives. You can check us out on Facebook, or you can email us at sweetvalleyhives@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody. Hope this helps.